Stereolab, Sonic Youth, bands like that, they're still cool. Like, they still get wreck. No one's going to be talking about the Ocean Blue because they weren't that good. They're like, I love them. They're hilarious. They have the worst fake British accent of any American band ever. Like, Al Jorgensen sounds like he's from Texas compared to these guys. It's absolutely hilarious. They're from Hershey, Pennsylvania, and they sound like they're walking around Camden. It's so funny. But yeah, it's you thought this was the Breakfast at Tiffany's band. No, it's not that bad. Better Than Ezra, right? Wasn't that them? That is just a horrible memory of a horrible time for anybody my age, man. That is some late 90s Sex and Candy, Marcy's Playground, having to go to bars because you have no life. Like, that's rough. That's a bad time. Awful memories for me. So we didn't, oh, Deep Blue Something. Okay, sorry. Sorry to have gotten that wrong. Oh yeah, no, Better Than Ezra was that good song. It was the Wah song, right? Holy crap. That stuff was terrible. What a time to be alive. Trust me. So yeah, I mean, the idea is to take off. Oh, and we didn't stream on Sunday. Like 4 people showed up because it was like 2:00 right after the World Cup finals. So we're going to give I was wearing my, my ridiculous, Argentina, jersey. So we got to give a moment. There's something else. But yeah, I came on and like 5 or 6 people came in. It was hilarious. So I was just here for a minute. We basically just listened to this and just laughed. But it was an awesome cup. Yeah, exactly. No, I had it all set up. I was gonna do like World Cup compilations. We were gonna go through and do like the O2 and like Waka Waka and Vindaloo and talk about the World Cup song and how it's been derailed as a concept because of the Russian, boycotts and stuff in 18. Pitbull came back and did one, and you had Ole Ola, and obviously, Couple Life, Ricky Martin is the song, but, the controversy between Marauder getting the song in Italy in 90 and not England New Order with World in Motion, which is essentially the lasting World Cup song for music geeks. But anyway, we didn't do that stream because, everybody was, preoccupied or crawling out of a pub after that incredibly long Cup final. So Ocean Blue got signed right out of the gate to a major label deal. Now it wasn't a big deal, like tons of money or anything, but they signed a 3-record deal like that with Sire Reprise, and Reprise was like a very a hip big label inside the overall WEA, Warner Elektra Atlantic at that time, super label. And so, yeah, you got to hold and give. Yeah, it's a great track. I love it. And mentioning the New Order song World in Motion, the 2002, they reissued it and they put out a B-side from the Get Ready sessions that was like, why did you not put this out on I don't know if they didn't finish it in time. It's called Such a Good Thing. It's the last truly great New Order song. It's like a freight train of hyper pop, just elation. It's the happiest, most fun, sunny thing they've almost ever done, and yet it was a B-side for a friggin' reissue of World in Motion, and it ended up on the bonus slipcase disc of the New Order retro box. It just never got its due. It was the strangest thing. But I love that song. So yeah, if you're hunting for the World in Motion single, get the O2 CD5 because you can get Such a Good Thing because it absolutely smokes. But so yeah, the Ocean Blue. So they're a college band. Somebody posted, and this is great because I can talk about anything and put it in the description for a timestamp. Somebody posted the Jerk Store's Drop 19s reissue drops. And I get it. It makes complete sense that you're doing a Drop 19 skate deck because the spoken word breakdown in the middle of Kick the Tragedy, which is their only truly great song. It's like one of the shoegaze opuses, kinda. I mean, I loved it. I'm from the Boston area, and Drop 19s were BU kids. The whole time that band existed, they were Boston University students, getting written up in the NME because holy shit, there are American bands like imitating shoegaze bands, and suddenly like we're cool and Americans are imitating us. So the Drop 19s got like, and they were on Caroline. They weren't, I mean, if I recall correctly, they weren't on like a huge label, but Caroline's essentially Virgin, so they had good UK exposure. Anyway, somebody posted this ridiculous reissue big drop that they're doing with like a skate deck and its stupid t-shirt, sweatshirt and a hoodie and all that stuff. You know, Drop 19s could barely play until they got Kevin March, the drummer, from Dam Builders, who fixed up, I think, the second album. He also fixed up the second Swirlies album. Like, he was the only good drummer in Boston that was playing with alt-rock bands in the late 80s, early 90s. I mean, he was on everything, the guy from the Dam Builders. Kevin March, if I recall right, is his name. He was like the go-to, like, Q Division, we need somebody to fix the session, and like Kevin would come in and just nail it out, because half the bands couldn't play for shit, and they had crappy drummers who couldn't carry it in time. You know, and back then there's no quantizing, you know, you're recording live. I mean, yeah, maybe at that point ADAT's coming around, but most of this was still on mag reel, totally live to click at best. So, you had mercs like that, mercenary guys that were just like good enough to play studio quality, that indie bands and like were aware of and involved in the underground scenes, like they mopped up. It's the same, like, you know, Waronker and you know, there's just numerous examples of the secret drummer that actually played on most of your favorite records and like sometimes wasn't even credited because the band was like, well, we're not a real band then. And anyway, so Drop 19s is an example of like a, you know, really crazy young kids getting a deal. Ocean Blue, you know, were also stupid young. I mean, they I believe this, if I recall right, this band formed in like 85 or 6, and they might have been in high school, and they were just like, you know, it's like O Positive, you know what I mean, in Boston. They were just so into Echo and the Bunnymen and all of the kind of like mid-tier, mid-tempo English music, without being like gothy or theatrical, without like openly repping for The Cure and dressing crazy or whatever. Like, they had horrifically bad fashion sense, actually, factually. The singer was a pretty good looking dude in a kind of a, you know, the dude from the Charlatans, Tim, kind of a way, or even, oh God, my brain is not working today. It's been so crazy. The guy from Ride, the beautiful, pouty, you know, big mouthed singer archetype. He had that going. I will give him that. But he also had a really tragic bowl cut, because like, at this time, even in baggy, like bowl cuts were sort of back in a thing. And just tragic. I mean, I had some all-time bowl cuts you can imagine, probably. Yeah, it was special. I had some special bowl cuts over the years. Anyway, so the idea here is like it's unavoidable that this pastime of trying to build up a collection of cheap used CDs is going to heavily lean toward this period of like I said in the last stream or the one before it, of like 85 to essentially 2005. So these 20 years, you know, what happened during that time? You know, obviously, you know, you've got the explosion of electronic music, you've got acid house, and you know, you've got enormous American college rock, but you've also got really like kind of risky deals being done by major labels. And the idea of giving a bunch of teenagers from Hershey, Pennsylvania, a 3-record deal is pretty like indicative of how silly it got. I mean, nothing bands, you know, back when I was doing videos like 10 years ago, I did one with Shauna Carmody from Swirlies. It was the third of the 3 shoegaze videos I did. And she was like, they just were throwing money at indie bands. Like, we got $25,000 to do the first Syrup USA record, like having nothing out. Like, she didn't even have like a full album in the can. And I think that's the number she quoted to me. And that's like, you know, it was ridiculous. I have no idea what kind of money they spent on the Ocean Blue. But when they came out, there's not a human being that didn't think this band was from England. Every college radio station in America thought that this band was English, because they sound like Diff Juzz gone pop. They sound like a million bands from like 1983 on their first album, their self-titled first album. you know, it's just really funny. You know, there were tons of bands doing it. It's not like they were unique in that way, but they were pretty slick. Like, they had some songwriting chops. The hit single, Between Something and Nothing, as well as Drifting Falling, these were both great. You know, they had a hit here. They had a college hit, and I'm finding out they were not British right now. Yeah, no, seriously, it's unbelievable when you hear them. You're like, oh, I'm sure they, you know, opened for Roxy Music on the Avalon tour or some shit. Like, they just sound exactly like every, you know, Aztec Camera, whatever. I mean, well, maybe Blue Nile, I don't know. There's a, you know, they sound like they could have been playing with like Joseph K or some shit in Scotland in the famous, like, you know, Scottish scene of kind of more angular, like not C86 twee and blissy, but like the early angrier, you know, rip it up and start again kind of shit that was going on up north. So yeah, it's a funny thing about them. And all right, so we've got, oh, this is an interesting EP of theirs. I wonder, I'll get into that. Well, right at the top, we got somebody going for $3.99 with it. I mean, the media condition, it's got marks. I actually don't even care about this. I don't pay attention to it generally, because media condition is like, if it can't be read, they're going to give you a refund. Like, you know, and if it can be read, that's all I care about. I'm not going to look at the bottom of the CD. That's not part of the experience. Like, I'm using it to rip it to digital lossless, and I'm just putting it on a shelf, and it's just the object. I don't know. That's me. You may feel differently about it, but whatever. Oh wow! So this seller specifically calls out Club Edition. I talked about this before. It's the silliest thing. This is so to your advantage. Like, people who pretend that having, you know, a barcode on the back that just says made under license for BMG is like, means anything. It means nothing. It's the same DDP file the CD is made from. Like, there's nothing different about the mastering, any aspect of it. So, well, right off the top, although I am not a fan, if you never got any of the Steely Dan CDs, here's a couple at a good price. You know, I mean, this band continues to get wrecked and be a meme with, you know, newer generations. I don't know why. Boom, Massive Attacks Protection. Yeah, we got our store. Yeah, we're good. I think we'll hang around here and see what we can get. They need to pay you for Aja. Yeah, I agree. I don't like Asia. I don't like anything to do with Fagan or Steely. It's not my thing, but hey, they got massive amounts of fans. So, you know, right off the top, you know, this is an all-time classic. Like, you should just have it, like, if it's, you know, for you, if it's for your thing. I don't know enough about them. I know, like, Katie lied and you know, like what generally the biggest stuff is, but I'm not somebody that like wants to be a know-it-all and be like Mr. Music Critic that can tell you, like, my whole thing was always like, I hate a lot of shit. I straight up hate Steely Dan. They suck. And like, okay, there's a bajillion people who totally disagree with me and think this is one of the most important albums of all time. The point is, that's the only way you can develop any sort of identity as a talking head or critic or writer. Like, you gotta be somebody who actually has stakes and opinions that you personally hold about this stuff. You can't just be like, yes, Steely Dan's Erasure was a fascinating landmark album. You know, it really says a lot about that time for AOR rock and roll. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, and like people doing Wikipedia videos just talking about records they don't personally give a shit about, but like because maybe you've never heard it, all of a sudden they're like the translating agent, like doing stand-up comedy Wikipedia reading. It's so dumb, man. I don't get it. Anyway, tangent over. Protection, absolute must own. To get this for $4.99 is worth it. Yeah, you can find it for cheaper because it was done with Virgin. But I mean, this thing is fucking ridiculous. This is like Tricky on fucking fire. Tracy Thorn, so smooth. Like this, I mean, this is just nuts. This record is nonstop. If you don't know it and you don't know like the dawn of trip hop and the wild bunch and the whole Bristol scene and everything, like this Portishead's like off on their own deal. This is such important stuff. This band was so fucking legit and like on that shit. And the fact that they partnered with Tracy Thorn and Tricky and everything, it was so goddamn good. So anyway, there's one you're going to definitely take down. We'll get to Ocean Blue, I'm sure. Lenny's Are You Gonna Go My Way? So Lenny, I mean, look, Lenny Kravitz is a greatest hits artist, duh. But this album, I mean, this isn't the one that broke him, but this is one of the ones that's like, you could consider it. Like, there's some decent stuff in here. But on the whole, I would say, it doesn't, yeah, exactly. It doesn't have the stuff from the first album. It ain't over till it's over. And, I mean, the first album is the one. I mean, it was enormous. Lenny Kravitz's first album was an enormous, alternative rock hit, an MTV hit. And, I would say this is somebody that you can safely, without being, insulting to the artist, say, hang out for the greatest hits. None of his albums are front to back, like, all killer. It's, you want the hits. Hey, love hate. What's up? This is another thing you don't find. It's not really a shock, I guess, for whatever reason you want to put to it. Hip hop doesn't come up all that as much as it should. I mean, you can find sellers that are like all hip hop, but anyway. Oh, this was a totally weird EP. Bizarre. I wouldn't pay $3.99 for that. Weird, extraneous R.E.M. live CD. Oh, there you go. Life's Rich Pageant, $3.99. That's a go. I mean, that's one of R.E.M.'s cooler, IRS 80s records. It's got one of my all-time favorite R.E.M. songs on it, which is I Believe. I also love These Days. I mean, everybody does. It's R.E.M. Swan Song Hummingbird, one of their great little folky ballads, and then the cover of Superman by the Quick. What the hell? I'm totally forgetting. Is it listed here? If I'm totally blanking on the name, but anyway, it's a cover of a classic 60s Nuggets style tune. It's great. It's a great tune. It's kind of weird, the original, and like it's like a carousel ride kind of a thing, but their cover is massive, legacy 80s college rock. Like, it was big time shit, and it's one you definitely want. So the Carter 3 should be out there for like $3 a landfill. Well, that was the thing, right? Like, nobody bought them. They pressed millions of them, and like, did they really get bought? Yeah, no, that's definitely true. The hip hop is much more in retail. You're right. That's a good point. But yeah, Mills is super loud on Superman, and it's a classic. And there's lots of classics on this record. It's just a strong R.E.M. album. Paying more than $1.99 for Odelay if you like Beck is insane. Anything Beck did should be essentially free. I've never been a fan of his. Smithereens, another college rock classic. Girl Like You. They had a couple of other hits. Only a Memory was probably arguably even bigger than Girl Like You, but $2.99, I'd take this. I mean, this is definitely a greatest hits band. Their big album in like 88 or 89. I remember, mega college rock hit, but this is for $2.99, I'd absolutely snake this to have it on physical. Completely unending Stone Temple Pilots CDs all day. Again, I consider them a greatest hits band. Lots of people think this album is totally legit. Okay. I mean, there's some strong stuff on here. I mean, I do think Vaseline and Interstate Love Song were good singles, and I have always had a big, guilty conscience, with Big Empty, which I like a lot. I like the version on the Crow soundtrack better, but, I mean, on the whole, this is a strong record from a band that, nobody expected to come out and like hit it again, because they just seem like a photocopy grunge ripoff, bunch of LA, dickheads that just sold out for the grunge sound and took their PVs and, traded them for Marshalls. I don't know. I mean, but look, this band proved themselves. I'm not going to be like sarcastic and like shitting on them like they're illegitimate. They had a really long run of pretty legit shit. If you like any of it, you're going to love all of it. I mean, in essence, they only got better compared to what they started out with, which was such by the numbers Nirvana imitation. So yeah, I mean, for $2.99, I'd say that's definitely a take. I mean, you know, why not? I kind of hard pass on NRBQ. It's not really my thing. Oh, the Passion Sources CD. This actually, I don't think this is that common. I mean, I could be wrong. How many copies are for sale? 10 million? Okay. Under, like, not many. This is really cool. This is a compilation that Peter Gabriel's Real World put out of the stuff that inspired the incredible soundtrack to Martin Scorsese's Last Temptation of Christ that Peter Gabriel did. It's one of my, I mean, you know, I'm a total Peter Gabriel softie. I mean, that's, I admit that 100%. But this is, I have this and I've always really liked it. And it's super cool that Gabriel tries to give a platform and lend his platform to all these artists that he's, you know, using as an inspiration. Like, compare and contrast that with Paul Simon, who basically tells Los Lobos to fucking sue him for not crediting them for the fact that they wrote like 3 of the songs, or the melodies at least, of Graceland. And they were just like, dude, what the fuck? Like, we wrote that with you in the studio one night. And he's like, sue me, see what happens. Literally, quote, that's what Los Lobos claims that Paul Simon says to them about their contributions to Graceland. And so when you look at how Simon, and with Rhythm of the Saints too, and he goes down and shoots a video in a favela, you know, for the, I mean, it's also one of my favorite songs too. I mean, I love late period Paul Simon, don't get me wrong. The guy is pretty renowned for being a bit of a prick. My point is that Gabriel was very much the opposite with a lot of this stuff. And yeah, this Sources CD, man, for $4.99, I would absolutely take that. $2.99 for the Cars self-titled. I mean, if you have to own this. So if you're going to do a card out of this seller and you don't own the Cars self-titled debut, it's the HD CD of it, the reissue. The remasters the Cars did were really good. You know, that's an absolute must-own. You literally have to have this album in your collection. There's just no wiggle room. You know, look, the Cars invented new wave in my, I mean, they're the ones who came up with this weird in-between ground between kind of rock and roll in the classic, you know, 50s sense almost, and the kind of arch posturing, you know, that came out of punk and 70s decadence and drugs and shit. I mean, this record is insane. It's totally ridiculous. Like, when would you pick the needle up? There's no point. Bye Bye Love is kind of, and I'm all mixed up, is kind of whatever. But I mean, this thing is just stupid, crazy good. Like, you just, duh. If you don't have it, you need it. So this seller has another really good Jeffrey R.E.M. Real World CD. Real World stuff. Oh man, for $4.99. I mean, if I saw this stripe for $4.99, I honestly would just get it. Like, this is solid. Basically, you're getting quality A&R for, you know, for traditional African music or whatever. All Mixed Up is great, whatever. I'm not going to get into that stuff. We're going to argue about the Cars debut. I don't think they should have ended it with it. I think they should have ended it with Moving in Stereo. That's sort of my point. These are backwards. Moving in Stereo is so obviously should have been the end of the sound. Anyway, whatever. What else we got? Oh boy. Yeah, we got, oh, this is grim. Oh, wow. Anyway, so there's some world music vibe here. Who Sell Out? Nice. $4.99. I mean, it's the 95 reissue. I like this period in terms of their reissues and remasters. You know, can you get it for cheaper? I'm positive you can. But again, let's, you know, look at the store we're dealing with. Brian Ferry and Roxy Music's greatest hits. I mean, look, if you don't know the band, it's a big discography to go through, and you certainly don't need any Brian Ferry solo albums. So if you look at this as a way to get the only interesting or decent things Brian Ferry ever did, you got it. So, and then as a bonus, if you're not familiar, but you know you're supposed to be familiar with Roxy Music, you're getting Street Life, Virginia Plain, Jealous Guy, the version of Jealous Guy, where is, obviously More Than This, the big, you know, 80s, smooth 80s hit. Okay, it doesn't have a lot of good Roxy stuff. I mean, it's bare minimum of good Roxy tracks, but like, you know, maybe $4.99 is a little rich. Control F, Brian Ferry, delete. Yeah, no kidding. The Who Sell Out is the only thing you need. That's a strong take from a Quadrophenia stan, but it's very, very solid. It's one of the strongest. Erasure is a tough one. I do sort of feel that they are predominantly a singles band. That's sort of not going to be popular because, I mean, as a take, because you're talking about Vince Clarke and like one of the greatest songwriters of all time. Like, it's unbelievable. And this has Olamore. And so like for this money, it's almost like, you know what? You should have the parent album for Olamore. It's one of the most important, like, it's probably arguably their biggest song, but it's an enormously important landmark single from the 80s. So like for $2.99, why not have the parent LP? Is it great? It's good. You know, but I think Erasure, unfortunately, and they did it to themselves because of pop and all the hits compilations and remixes and things that they've done. They've diluted their own sort of brand, in my view. And look, this record is crazy overlong for what it is. Erasure songs, like, they take a long time for me. I feel like they last twice as long as they are. They're so thick. The production is so heavy, and the messages are generally, you know, there's so much melodrama and operatic, you know, whatever. You know, totally putting aside their importance with respect to how they contributed to getting people comfortable with, you know, homosexuality, etc. Chains of Love and all these other things, and Olamore itself. But yeah, I mean, thinking about it as a music fan and a collector, like for $2.99, just get the period correct presentation of the band in 1987 for $2.99. You know, and I mean, yeah, you'll get the greatest hits eventually, but pop is the ultimate. I mean, it's silly. It's like, what is it, 20? It's like 20 songs. There's a deluxe edition, which is like too much. You know, if you get the 20 Vince Clarke Erasure hits, it's like, that's absolute fire. What's the Story, Morning Glory? Shockingly, I mean, this essentially is free. It's wallpaper. You can get that whenever you want. Oh God, Smash Mouth. This is a really weird, broad array of stuff in this store. You could definitely get a fun little bag out of this store. Madonna's Something to Remember. Eesh. Oh man, little Meat Beat Manifesto. I mean, this is right in the middle. This is like big beat monster history. And so, you know, once they had the hit, once they had a hit, this became possible. And so Mute went through and put this compilation together, and it's got really good, like, early stuff. It's a little bit more industrial than Big Beat and what they became, like, you know, big with. But it's really cool to get their roots like this. I mean, $4.99 isn't free, but it's a good deal. Nirvana, the Bends. Yeah, here we go. Oh my God, this is literally like the biggest 90s stall ever. You are not kidding, Jock. You know, this again, this live comp of Nirvana stuff. It's a comp, right? It's not all from one show. Was it from it's not the Paramount show. Yeah, it's a comp. I love this thing. It's a great, I mean, it's a stupid cash-in, but like these are legitimately some of their greatest performances. This is my favorite version of Aneurysm. The version of Negative Creep can't compare to the Year Punk Broke VHS DVD. That is the definitive version of School and Negative Creep for me, is the live Sonic Youth, Nirvana, Dinosaur Jr. Film, The Year Punk Broke. But the version of Lithium, as I recall, is pretty good. But it's really, the Aneurysm is unbelievable. I don't know if this is the good Drain You. No Gang Color. First tape I own, Muddy Banks of the Wishkah. Yeah, that's awesome. That's funny. Drain You. Yeah, it's as I recall, the stuff from In Utero is pretty shit, which isn't a shock because they were fucking crap on that tour. He was such a bag of junk at that point. The Bends, duh. I mean, there's people out there argue this is their best album. I think it's, you know, it depends what you want Radiohead to be. If you want Radiohead to be part of Britpop, this is their best album, because this is competing with Britpop hardcore. This is like right in there with, this is like, you know, the darker alternative to Blur, for Christ's sake. I mean, the Bends, the title track, Just My Iron Lung. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous. And Black Star is one of my favorite Radiohead songs of all time. This is like I mean, no one needs more commentary on Radiohead. But, you know, Americans did not get this record at all. It was totally ignored. Like, straight up, it did nothing here. The Fake Plastic Trees video got played a couple times on 120 minutes. Like, it did nothing. I remember getting this record at the radio station, the college radio station I was the music director of. And I was like, wow, they fucking blew it. Like, I didn't even appreciate it when it came out. I didn't even like it. I just thought it was completely boring because I was in my, like, up my ass, you know, righteous 7-inch, you know, obscure bullshit phase. So this, like, went right over my head. Obviously, I went back to it. And it's just fucking phenomenal. I mean, I went back to it 20, 30 years ago, but I'm just saying, like, I went back to this. When did I really have my big, like, Apologia tour with Living with the Bends? I want to say it was 98. I think it was 98. I got a tape of it for, like, free. Like, I found it, or so, I can't remember this. I had a tape of it, and I listened to the tape in my car over the summer, like, all the time. I think it was 98. But anyway, I mean, yeah, you don't need me to tell you how important that is. 13, again, we're really going night. MXPX, oh my God. We're getting tooth and nail shit in here. 13, again, I mean, Trim Trab, one of my favorites, No Distance Left Run. Whenever this comes up, this is a take. You should have it. Unless you're somebody who's hunting for, you know, like the box sets and all that stuff. High and Dry did okay during the late 2000s. I noticed they started playing it on radio. Yeah, it's true. No, I'm not talking about Corner Shop. Come on. Why would you don't need me to talk about Corner Shop. I was talking about the compilations, and I forgot about this really weird compilation series. I'm going to save it. It's whatever. This one is super bizarre. This was just like, comps are a thing. Let's make one. And it's always special products, and it's a Taco Bell thing. So they gave this away at Taco Bell or sold it. You know, so it's basically a Sony PepsiCo thing, and they probably gave it away. Okay, here we go. Do Something is a nonprofit. I don't remember. Do Something. Blah, 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 blah. Donate money, blah, blah, blah. So this is some huge brand share with the Smithereens, man. You know, it all ties together. These streams, somehow we get our callbacks. I was posting this one the other night. No shit. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty awful. And, like, if you don't have this stuff anywhere, just don't worry about it. This is not necessary. Sarah McLachlan, these are good songs. I love Possession. I love I'll Take You There, and Return to Innocence is a classic. But yeah, weird. I forgot about that one. I may have never known about it. INXS, not a greatest hits band. That bothers me because Listen Like Thieves and Kick are both pretty much front to back perfect. So I'd say, I mean, yeah, sure, get it. I think the later stuff, you know, I've talked about them before, but anyway, I think, you know, after these last 6 songs, Suicide Blonde, Disappear, Heaven Sent, Beautiful Girl, I don't know that I really need anything else from them after Kick for me. And that may be because, again, my age, being a Gen Xer for whom, like, Kick was the sickest thing in the world when I was, like, 13 or so, I don't know. PJ's Vitalogy, you know, talk about an apologia. I've sort of, you know, tried to, for anybody who knows me, you know, and there's not many on the stream or anything, but, like, one of the more infamous things I did back when I was on YouTube was this huge rant on Pearl Jam. And, yeah, I did hate him at the time more than anything. But then, like, once Candlebox comes out, it's kind of like, I don't know if I can hate Pearl Jam that much. So, you know, up through this record, I think Pearl Jam is worth figuring out whether you find any value in. I think after this, it gets really silly and they become like a, you know, I don't know, Grateful Dead, MOR rock bullshit thing. But I think this record is the last one you need to bother with. But, you know, Whatever. What is the only, like, what was it? Nothing Man Better Man. That's the song. This was the big hit off this one. Yeah. And this is like, Better Man is just a rewrite of Daughter, really, isn't it? From the last one? I don't fucking know. Which version of Revolver could we get here? I mean, it doesn't matter. God, no idea. Certainly don't get the new reissue. There's something we can talk about for a minute. Holy crap. The 2022 Revolver project by Martin's Kid. Holy crap, it's bad. It's shockingly bad. I would call it, without any exaggeration, a blasphemous abuse of access to Beatles material. I'm Only Sleeping is literally out of phase. It hurts to listen to. If you're somebody who's got like studio experience and knows what out of phase is, it's shocking how bad it is. It's shocking how hot they made the guitars, how much gain they threw on everything. Like, it fucking sucks. So I would say, you know, get the old Beatles CDs. And I've said on another stream, like Past Masters Volume 1 and 2, get that stuff. Like, yeah, they're not brick walled and they're too quiet, but just like turn it up, whatever. Rip it and like, you know, listen to it through a DAC so you have some amplification or something. Anyway, silly, awful. Big Country, Best of Big Country for $3.99. The one at this store is the OG. Yeah, it looks like it. My girlfriend buys a copy of 10 every time we enter a store. You could make a good collage out of that. Dummy, absolute must and not hard to find for this price. You know, one of the most important records of the 90s, full stop. This was a transformational record. I mean, just fucking enormous. Singles for days, Canon classics for days. You can't even, this is another one, you can't even take this record off. Like, there's no point where you're going to just be like, nah. Like, you know, you go Pedestal to Biscuit, and then you got Glory Box at the end, Rhodes, Numb, fucking, are you kidding me? It's unbelievable. This record's just flawless. I mean, and you can get it from anywhere. Because it was just, they sold a ton of copies, and then people, you know, got older and sold their CDs and moved and whatever. Like, Portishead's Dummy is such the sweet spot of the notion of used CD collecting. It's just, it's one of the best records that you can absolutely get for fucking nothing. There's another one. Man, $3.99 for Synchronicity, front to back, flawless album. You know, you got to have it. If you don't have it, like, you got to have it. I mean, you know, otherwise you're talking about buying a box set, the Police box set, which I have. But, you know, the Police albums are all worth owning. You know, just a absolutely, like, dominant big band, biggest band in the world kind of situation. This band was so ridiculously huge at this point. And it's like the point I made about Erasure, right? Like, you can get a box set, fine, but this is the record that was out in 1983 or whatever when Every Breath You Take came out and took over the world. And like, to actually listen to it as it was intended to be with the packaging, like, yeah, it's in the smaller CD format, but for $3.99, I really do think there's that period aspect to collecting that makes this really super worth it. Like, it's an affectation, it's silly, it's weird, I don't know. But I find value in it. So if you do, you know, that there's plenty of stuff like that. Matthew Sweet, oh my God. That's one, man, there's just something about the type of guy that's like huge into Matthew Sweet's 100% Fun and like has Blue Sky on Mars. I'm not that guy. That's all I can say. I don't want to be like nasty and shitting on things, but like, something about Matthew Sweet, man, it's just, there's this certain type of guy. Like, it's like the joke Chet has posted, you know, if you see this record in your man's collection run, yeah. Like, Where You Get Love is a great tune, man. This is a tune. I really do like Where You Get Love. It's great, but it's kind of like an Everclear song in a lot of ways. I don't know. But was it Make Believe was the other one? I mean, this has a couple singles. For $1.99, I'd say like his first three, this is his third album, right? For $1.99, oh yeah, there's this whole thing about how he recorded with, what's his name? Was it Scott Litt that he did it with? Who was it? He did something with the R.E.M. people, like early on. He was like an R.E.M. fanboy. And the girl from the B-52s, isn't she on this? Yeah, Kate Pearson. There's some weird proto, it's on his Wikipedia, go read it. Whatever that is, I don't give a shit about any of that. But I have this stuff, the first three. Because when I look at these covers, I remember like the difference between me and the dudes that like this guy was like a thing for me. Like my collection at this point, if I see something for $1.99 and I like recognize the cover and it was an album that was out when I was, you know, in my youth, I'll buy it. Like just literally to have the object. I've said before, I have almost the complete discography of Death Cab for Cutie on CD, a band I can't fucking stand. But there's no denying they were part of the fabric of my 20s. When I went to someone's house at a fucking party, they were putting on We Have the Facts. You know what I mean? And they were like, I don't know, they might have sold out, you know, when like the photo album came out or whatever. And there's some personal shit I'm not going to get into. I mean, I'm not doing that anymore. But anyway, yeah, up through this one, you know, there's shit on there. If you like middle of the road guitar pop and power pop, I mean, I like the first album. It's legit good. Evangeline is great. I've Been Waiting is fantastic. Divine Intervention. Girlfriend was a massive hit. I mean, this is a legit great record you can get for a quarter. And you should own it. Like, full stop. If you like music in any way, you should hear this album. The other stuff, he becomes this kind of... look, I don't want to use the word incel. That's total bullshit. But Matthew Sweet was kind of a weird dude. He was obsessed with anime and trying to work anime and weeb shit into his whole vibe. And then he had the whole like Peter Pan childhood 70s thing. He had a lot of hang-ups, I think. And that's the perception I always had of him. He was a guy who had a lot of like fixations and obsessions and stuff. And it just, the peripheral Matthew Sweetness of Matthew Sweet was always an issue for me. Yeah, I'm sure, I don't know if you're factually saying that, but yeah, I think he probably does have a Lum tattoo from, Lum's Yursei Yatsura, right? So I was just reading the chat here, sorry. He was in a band with Michael Stipe's sister. There you go. Yeah, I forgot that whole thing. But yeah, I knew he got a total, like, he got worked and hooked up and whatever, and then basically through that he learned like to not be precious and just start writing fucking hits, like, and then so I mean that's what Girlfriend is, and it's great. Boom, absolute lock every time out, free. It rains this fucking CD anywhere you go for used CDs, and it's fucking killer. This record is so goddamn good. As Hard as It is one of my favorite ballads of all time. And we're talking on a day here, right after Terry Hall has passed. You talk about, you know, this record and the specials. You talk about Ghost Town. You talk about even the stuff he did as Colorfield, like Thinking of You or Thinking About You, whatever it was. That song that just got totally pasted and shit on, but I think it's quite pretty. It is a joke. It's a kitchen sink drama. The Colorfield's Thinking About You or Thinking of You. I forget which. But FYC is the band that like just, you know, because this is their second album. Their first album has Johnny, We're Worried, Won't You Come On Home, blah, 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 and a couple others. But the first one is much more like full-on Doc Martin, suede head, like, you know, Rude Boy, you know, nostalgia or whatever. But it's way too specific. This one has all that, but it also has this overriding modern sheen, which is She Drives Me Crazy. And I mean, I'm pretty sure the video is the same guy, Wegman or whatever, who did New Order's True Faith. It was like the next video after True Faith. That video was on fucking every hour on the hour. Come home from school, you're going to see She Drives Me Crazy. If you stare at MTV for like 40 minutes, She Drives Me Crazy is coming on. Then Good Thing, which is the one where they really explicitly go back to, you know, mods and Vespas and that whole culture. I'm Not the Man I Used to Be, fucking killer ballad. The cover of Ever Fallen in Love. Look, nothing's ever going to top the fucking Buzzcocks originals of anything. But of all the covers of Buzzcock Sons that have been done, I really do favor this one. I think it's fantastic. And, you know, 299 is in there. The condition looks marginal. But that's one, don't ever pass that by. I mean, these are CDs, like, eventually, if you've been doing this, that you will just absolutely gloss over because you know you have it. Like, I've bought this twice, but I forgot. I wasn't using Discogs like to mark my collection. I've forgotten and bought the Raw and the Cook twice. Seal's debut, you know, absolutely. It's ZTT, so it's essentially legacy Art of Noise. This, you know, ZTT is Paul Morley and Ann Dudley and everyone else from Art of Noise's record label. Ann did the strings on this, right? Yeah, they're boom, it's right there. Ann Dudley did all the arrangements. She's the classical, you know, continental orchestra type that did all the string arrangements for like fucking everything. She worked with Virginia Astley early on in her career. I mean, the credits on this record are off the fucking charts if you want to dig into that stuff and names and all that stuff. But yeah, Crazy and Killer were both fucking monster. I mean, even the next album is almost better. But his first couple records, you know, definitely. Now 4. Yeah, well, I'm trying to stay away from the comps because I felt like it would be really repetitive and boring. I mean, I could do compilation videos and just literally only do that on this channel and never run out of material. I'll do another comp one soon. Naked Must Own. Asymmetrically one of my favorite Talking Heads records. Even though, like, yeah, is it a Talking Heads record? Probably not. But Johnny Marr's on it. Come on. Nothing But Flowers, you know, this was, there's Johnny Marr. This was actually the recessional at my wedding, if you can believe it. I love this album. Sax and Violins. Is this the version with it? It is not. So this is before they appended Sax and Violins, which was on a compilation called Stay Up Late, right? I think. Almost at the same time, and it became a hit. It was this really crazy computer-generated video that they did for Sax and Violins, and I believe pretty immediately after that, Sire rushed out a version with Sax and Violins appended to it. But I mean, you know, this album's a little bit all over the place, especially if you don't have the version with Sax and Violins. I would say don't get it. Find the version that I'm almost positive. I'm just going to confirm it. I'm almost positive there was a Rush Out appended version with that song on it. Let me just confirm it. LP, see the club edition. There's another 88 CD, UK and Europe. Nope. Huh. That's strange. Well, I mean, it must be a deluxe edition reissue or something where they did that. I mean, obviously the Talking Heads have got like 3 different box sets. Okay, well, so there's the famous Brick box set. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. So I guess the reissue is where they added it. Yep. And like, you're probably not going to get it as free as the OG. Which is a shame, but the reissue has it on there. So, you know, probably hold out for that. Without Sax and Violins, that album's not that great. Bangles' Greatest Hits. Yeah, sorry. I know it's shitty. I know they were Paisley Underground and All Over the Place is a legit early Paisley Underground sort of, you know, West Coast thing. Going Down to Liverpool's a classic. You know, this is like big college rock shit, but frankly, did they have 14 killer cuts? Barely. I think, you know, this is an awful industrial cash-in comp Columbia put out with Columbia House, but it's the same fucking masters. You're getting everything, you know, in your room. You know, Going Down to Liverpool's right there. You know, I love their hits, but I only love their hits. Eternal Flame, man. Oh boy, that is some shit. That is a great power ballad. I mean, I remember Eternal Flame, I think, was chasing Cheap Trick's The Flame up the charts at the same time. And it was just this whole like post-Berlin Top Gun soundtrack shit. Like the saccharine love ballads that were coming out because of the success of Berlin, and Take My Breath Away. That song was, I can't even explain to you. Like it goes, in my mind, it's the songs that were of that apex of ubiquity and oversaturation, there's not many. Like if I'm making a short list of the 80s, it's kind of like Sweet Dreams Are Made of This, Don't You Want Me Baby, you know, Hungry Like the Wolf, Every Breath You Take, Girls Just Want to Have Fun. And like at some point there's other, you know, I don't know, Don't You Forget About Me, Take My Breath Away, like right the fuck in there in the most oversaturated, like hip, good FM hits that kids were making radio stations play, that were coming from kids and people responding to them versus record labels saying, here's the new stuff, deal with it. Like Take My Breath Away was a very original sounding song. Berlin's history is phenomenal. She was on a podcast, man. Oh, who did she do it with? The singer from Berlin was on a podcast. I think it might have been the Curious Creatures one with Lowell and Budgie. Oh, it's so cool. She talks about how she was like an actress she got like a part on Knots Landing, and then she turned it down, and her agent fucking deleted her phone number and would never talk to her again because she wanted to stay a singer. I'm pretty sure I don't have my stories mixed up. Look for her on a podcast somewhere. It's such a fucking cool story. But yeah, you know, Hazy Shade of Winter, you know, that's a fucking hardcore riff, man. That lick shreds, and it's Rick Rubin, right? So that's why the guitar sounds great. But that is a fucking killer lick. I mean, it's like a classic 60s Stones, you know, kind of, you know, riff, but fucking A, it's so good. And there's a lot of good shit on here. I love Walk Like an Egyptian. Get the fuck out of here. You're too good for Walk Like an Egyptian. It's a great fucking tune. Manic Monday, it's Prince, dude. Come on. This, you know, their hits are fucking undeniable. Manic Monday's beautiful. Oh, such a good song. So In Your Room too is fun. Yeah, I mean, this is all of it. You got a Chris Lord-Alge mix, yeah, baby. This has got major label written all over it. It's just such good 80s. You got to get it. Tell It to My Heart. Taylor Dane, iconoclast, baby. She had quite a set of pipes, but she did not have quite a set of songwriters. I would say no, you don't need to take this one down, but Tell It to My Heart is a fucking monster jam. But look, Taylor Dane's somebody you can get on an 80s comp. You don't need to go direct. Fabulous. There's some good fucking hip-hop shit in here. Okay. I think this is after... Is this right before or right after he essentially peaks? He's like an 06 guy, right? I don't remember the history. I mean, Fabulous had a fucking minute though. He popped. All I think about with him is Entourage. Like, and that kind of shit. Because there was the video game episode of Entourage where they're playing Fight Night. And that was the theme song of that Fight Night. And I had that Fight Night. When I was like looking for a job in New York. I think it was like right after I quit Pitchfork, and I was like playing that fucking game all the time with Fabulous on it. Coming up on time, can we find one other little quickie to rant about? The Call. Oh, woof. There's plenty of good shit though. This is a pretty good story. Ash. Oh my god, Dead Can Dance. We were talking about them earlier in the Discord.
You fucking joking.
This would take a long time to go through the whole fucking Dead Can Dance thing. Man, so I mean, you can tell from the cover of this, Dead Can Dance were initially about as like world goth, Arthurian maypole dancing fucking shit like ever. But the thing that's crazy is they like turned into this fucking incredible syncretic world music thing with Into the Labyrinth, and more importantly, this live album, Toward the Within. They're fucking amazing records. I love them both. And the album right after it is still really good too. So, I mean, so there are people who love this early stuff and like unapologetically. And I made the joke, like they probably also have black tape for a blue girl tattoos, but you know, they turn a corner and become a really cool band in the mid 90s for like a 3-4 album stretch. This is not that corner. This is some massively melodramatic, Gothenburg fucking leather-bound shit. I don't know. Cannot recommend going in on this one. But that is funny. Yeah, I mean, so this period here for me anyway, they have this huge hiatus. They were in a relationship, the main guy and gal, and I don't remember if they're married, but they were in a relationship, and their whole life together was these early goth albums, and Evo Watts Russell loved them, and they were one of the cornerstone 4AD bands, although they didn't really feature the classic, high quality 4AD artwork. Their artwork is like super basic and frankly kind of shit, up until this one. And this is when they come back and it's like, oh my God, this is not the same band. And they've just got big ass fucking ears. Somehow, after their relationship went sour and they just dug deep, this stretch here, I mean, Spirit Chaser's nowhere near Into the Labyrinth, but it's still okay. It's still good. I would say it's for a flyer, it's worth checking out if you like these, but this is really the one. Like, this fucking live album is astonishingly beautiful. This Kantara, the end of Kantara, the vocal performance on this, it's absolute fucking chills. Lisa Gerrard's voice is just, you can't even believe it. Like, honestly, the end of Kantara and Yulunga too. They're both so good, and they do a really great version of the traditional I'm Stretched on Your Grave, which I talked about in the Sinead O'Connor episode, which she had done with the funky drummer beat. They have their own version, American Dreaming. Like, this pulls out some old songs too from that medievally stuff and makes them better and greater, in my view. Desert Song on here is also really good. It's such good shit. And Drawla just mentioned in the chat, the sound quality, the production on it for a live record, you really feel like you're there. You can hear all the clicks and clacks appropriately, as you should, of things shuffling or whatever in the quiet parts. Like, it's fucking riveting is what it is. Like, listening to it is a totally fucking riveting experience. It is so unmistakably, flawlessly live and not gussied up in the studio. And if it is, it's done in a way that's holistically correct to preserve the live experience. Absolute fucking must own. And does it come up in used bins often? Probably not. Not as often as fucking Menswear's Nuisance, I can tell you that. Woo! Oh man, we just can't avoid late period shit Britpop on this channel, can we? It doesn't stop. It won't quit. We're ending on the middest of mid. Look, I don't even go in for the first Coldplay after Yellow. It's, whatever. I'm a half goof on my Coldplay love. Filter. Oh, there's Pop. Done. $2.99. Erasure's Pop. Get it. This is all you need. 20 songs, all of them. The great covers, the Take a Chance on Me, the fucking wait. Oh wait, no. Salisbury Hill was after this. That's the only thing you're missing. They did Salisbury Hill after this. I forgot. But A Little Respect is one of my favorite pop songs of all time, full stop. I absolutely love it. I talked about it in an old DSLR video 10 years ago when I was talking about Boy George and like the progression of accepting, homosexuality and man, fucking A Little Respect is just, it's so fucking powerful and on the money. It's a beautiful fucking song. It's such a beautiful production too. Like considering when it was made, it could suffer so much for the technology at the time, but it's Clark. It's, they absolutely fucking nailed it. I mean, that run, Ship of Fools, Chains of Love, and A Little Respect, all right. And it's just like champagne. I mean, this thing, it's so good. Man, this store is definitely getting you a solid bag, and we didn't even go very far. I'll finish on this one. This is the Gary Smith record. Gary Smith is he ran Fort Apache Studios in Boston. I worked for him briefly after college, and at the studio. And Billy Bragg was a financier investor in the studio. It's since closed down. It started in a really shitty, fucked up warehouse where they did the Pixies Purple tape. I worked for them when they had moved to Fort Apache North or South. I can't remember what they called it, which was in Davis Square in Somerville. And this was the time when Juliana Hatfield was on a hunger strike from Atlantic Records before the God's Foot album. It was also when Gary was trying to become U.S. representation for Radiohead right after OK Computer came out. OK Computer died on its ass on release date in America. It did nothing. That record took a while to get around in America. When it did, it took over the world. But Radiohead were like struggling to crack America. And Gary was making a play to represent them or whatever around that time. Anyway, this is the record where Billy Bragg let Gary Smith fuck around with his stuff. And on Accident Waiting to Happen, there's this guitar solo, which is like the signature Gary Smith move. He does it in so many productions. Belly's Feed the Tree, Tanya Donnelly's, the single that she did, Pretty Deep, Juliana Hatfield's Everybody Loves Me But You. Like, the examples of this there's a lot of them. And in the middle of the song, it's the Gary Smith guitar solo, and it's the same fucking solo every time. And Bragg let him do it on this one. This album's cool. This is like it's got a kind of Robin Hitchcock feel to it a little bit. It really is bigger than, look, it's coming off the back of Workers' Playtime, Bragg's biggest record with, that thing is so fucking beautiful. Workers' Playtime, it's the yellow cover, it's his signature album for me, for most people my age. There's the compilation, it's all so convoluted because he's reissued everything 150 million times. The two signature releases are the original compilation, Back to Basics, that he put out. This has all of his early solo guitar stuff. If you don't own this, to get this for $1 is unbelievable bounty. This thing front to back is just gorgeous. Steve Merchant and Ricky Gervais made the joke, like, we don't need there's strength in a union, break the lines, to hell with the poll tax, like, keep the political shit. But the love songs are just absolutely untouchable. Bragg is such a fucking classic English troubadour. And anyway, so that one, and then in terms of a standalone LP, he was doing EPs all the time. He was like hyperactive, and he would go do a Peel session, and then he would do 4 more songs. He would just boom, 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 and rush stuff out. This is where he sat down and wrote a fucking album, and he fucking crushed it. She's Got a New Spell right out of the gate. One of the jauntiest, purest, most beautiful little jangles. Must I Paint You a Picture? Gorgeous fucking ballad. The one for me, The Price I Pay. This song fucking guts me every time. You talk about a fucking pub classic, sitting there nursing a fucking pint. The Price I Pay is it's like the best Squeeze songs, like Black Coffee in Bed. It's fucking up there. And of course, this ballad, Waiting for the Great Leap Forwards. This is a historic, alternative, beautiful folk rock song. Bragg's run up to this. I fall off after the Cooking Vinyl stuff. I didn't get into any of that. So right up to the Peel Sessions album, this is all just like great fucking shit. But don't try this at home, the one that was in this store. This is like his very big sellout sort of MTV single thing. You Woke Up My Neighborhood and Accident Waiting to Happen were big time MTV, like silly white studio goofing around video shit. And the big one was Sexuality. So, this infamously has the line, I look like Robert De Niro and drive a Mitsubishi Zero. It doesn't get any fucking dumber than that, but it's a beautiful fucking song. It's silly. It's all about tolerance. It's all about the prevailing 80s thrust of tolerance toward homosexuality. We hadn't broadened it into, a spectrum. It was very limited to especially male homosexuality in terms of what was cracking the ceiling. and getting positive reception and attention and celebration. And Bragg lent his name, you know, with Sexuality. It's a beautiful tune. I mean, you get 3 awesome fucking pop songs on this. It's way too fucking long, by the way. You know, there's some good ballads. Wish You Were Her. God's Footballer's cute too, in a kind of almost like half man, half biscuit way. But, you know, Johnny Marr's all over this. Pete Buck plays on, I'm not sure which songs. I don't know how extensive the credits are, but this album was like the big go for it party. They got everybody together. It's just, it was a kitchen sink record, and you can tell by how long it is. It shouldn't have been. If you drop this back, I mean, for Christ's sake, an hour-long orchestrated full band Billy Bragg album, too much. But oh man, for $2.99 or whatever, fucking get that shit. $1.99, absolutely get that shit. I'm gonna bookmark this store. We could probably just spend like 2 more episodes going through them. But yeah, thanks for turning up. We did the usual numbers. We're gonna keep at it. We'll keep doing this, see if we get any traction over time, and you know, if we don't, we don't. Whatever. Fun hanging. Thanks for showing up and chatting. Johnny was on Talking with the Taxman about poetry. Correct, Trant. Oh boy. Yeah, Trant goes deep on Billy. So yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for showing up. And, you know, sorry if I missed any good stuff in chat I could have gone off on. And we're going to try and keep doing it. Again, this is off cycle. It's Thursdays at 7 p.m., usually not Tuesdays Eastern time. But because we missed the World Cup stream, I wanted to get another one up there. So we're keeping the content up and growing the channel. So thanks again. And we'll see you 2 nights from now. Special twofer. Thursday night at 7 Eastern for the, hopefully we'll get some hopefully we'll get some UK folks on Sunday, which is the afternoon US stream. So thanks again for coming out and helping me